Hello, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to you all who are live. Welcome to you all who are on Facebook and Instagram and wherever streaming this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the introduction to nonprofit HR, understanding the nonprofit sector and HR's role. This masterclass is designed to give you an overview of the nonprofit sector and the vital role that HR plays in it. Nonprofit organizations play a crucial role in our communities and society, and HR is critical to ensuring that these organizations can attract, develop, and retain the talented staff they need to achieve these missions. And in coming sessions, we'll take a deeper dive into the forthcoming topics. So today's topics, what is a nonprofit organization? So just doing some level setting here to make sure that we're all on the same playing field and understanding, and nonprofit mission and values, the role of HR in a nonprofit, unique challenges in nonprofit HR, which there are quite a few, compliance, ethics, and risk management, and resources for nonprofit HR professionals. Okay. So really quickly about Black in HR. Black in HR gives our members a growing network of like-minded professionals to connect for jobs, coaching, courses, mixers, and events. Black in HR was founded in 2017 and has grown into a powerhouse for skilled Black professionals around the world. Please join our elite membership program to get free access to masterclasses like this one. You'll see we have 10 partner organizations, SHRM being one of them. We have over 10,000 members. We're in 50 states, all 50 states in 3 countries. And you can find us on Facebook, Circle, and the GroupMe communities. Okay. So a little bit about me. My name is Jamar Ward. I currently serve as a Chief People Officer for Public Health Solutions, and I also have a life coaching and HR consulting business, but serving here for Black in HR. I've been a speaker at many events and a panelist, and I'm really passionate about uplifting Black people, especially professional Black people, and even more especially Black people in HR. We have a tough role and many things against us in this space, but I'm here to support, especially in the nonprofit space, and just really want to take people out of their comfort zone and help them leap to propel into their self-discovery path. And I'll be teaching various courses within the nonprofit HR as well as administration. Some places that I've worked. My first job out of grad school was a nonprofit called Business Interface Inc. And we did what was called workforce development, which was really helping young people from 18 to 24 find employment, get them job ready, do mock interviews with them, get their resumes done, and connect them with private employers. Then I spent about 13 years in New York City government and progressively forward positions within HR. So kind of really cut my teeth in HR and NYC government, and then decided to move back into nonprofit to have more creative freedom, essentially. So I was the global head of HR and diversity, equity, inclusion at Belladon Inc., where we build schools globally and also do some learnings in high schools. And then my current role at Public Health Solutions, Chief People Officer. And we do, Public Health Solutions is the largest healthcare nonprofit in New York City. And we do like sexual reproductive health, support abortion causes, enroll people into SNAP, which you may know as food stamps, and a bunch of other health programs designed to provide health equity for New Yorkers. My experience or my expertise, I started my HR career in recruitment. I have a love-hate relationship with recruitment. It's necessary, but it is tough work, especially when you're dealing with hiring managers. I really love HR strategy. I love big picture and planning and thinking and being creative, and then HR management. I'm really very much leadership focused and preparing leaders for the next level. So that's really my focus and my passion within the HR space. Okay. So now, before I begin, I'm gonna welcome questions. If you have questions as you go along, I will do my best to monitor chat. But if not, I'll address questions at the end for sure. I want to make sure that we're engaged, even though this is a webinar space, but I'm going to do my best to keep you all entertained and educated at the same time. So what is a nonprofit organization? So, as we begin our exploration of the nonprofit sector, let's first define what a nonprofit organization is. So sometimes they're referred to as a not-for-profit organization or as an NPO, which is a type of organization that primarily focuses on achieving social, cultural, educational, or environmental goals, rather than generating profits for shareholders or owners. One of the key characteristics of a nonprofit is that it is mission driven. And this means that their purpose is to create a positive impact on society or the environment, rather than focusing on financial gain. It's important to note that nonprofits can and do generate revenue. That's a misnomer, right? That they do not. But I guess the nuance here is that any profits generated are reinvested into the organization to further its mission and programs, rather than being distributed to shareholders or owners, right? So a main difference between an NPO and a for-profit organization lies in their purpose, their financial structure, and the way profits are used. While for-profit organizations primarily focus on generating profit for their shareholders or owners, nonprofit organizations prioritize the achievements of their mission and the delivery of public benefits. So in summary, a nonprofit organization is a mission-driven entity that works towards addressing social, cultural, educational, or environmental issues, and reinvest any profits generated back into the organization to further its mission and goals. So now that we have a clear understanding of what a nonprofit organization is, let's delve deeper into the mission and values that drive these organizations. The mission and values of a nonprofit are essential components of its identity, and they guide the overall direction and decision-making within the organization. The importance of a clearly defined mission statement. So a mission statement is a concise description of the organization's core purpose, objectives, and the impact it aims to create. A well-crafted mission statement is essential for nonprofits, as it helps it to communicate the organization's purpose to stakeholders, including staff, volunteers, donors, and the public at large. It provides a clear focus and direction for the organization's programs and initiatives. It establishes a foundation for decision-making and evaluation of organizational performance. And as HR professionals, it's really crucial to understand and align your strategies and practices with the mission of your organization, as this will help you attract and retain individuals who are passionate about the cause and are driven to make a difference, right? Common values in the nonprofit sector. Well, every nonprofit organization has its unique set of values. There are common values that are often shared across the sector, and some of these include social justice. Many nonprofits are dedicated to promoting fairness, equality, and justice in society, advocating for marginalized and underprivileged communities. Sustainability. Nonprofits often prioritize long-term sustainable solutions to social and environmental challenges, focusing on addressing the root causes of issues rather than just the symptoms. Empowerment. Many organizations aim to empower individuals and communities to take control of their lives and become self-sufficient, fostering a sense of agency and independence. Nonprofits often collaborate with each other or with other organizations, governments, and communities to achieve greater impact and create synergies in addressing complex issues. For example, my organization, we collaborate a lot with the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to kind of help with their programming. So it's kind of like extending the reach of the government in that sense, right? Nonprofits are accountable to their stakeholders and are committed to being an open and transparent about their operations, finances, and decision-making processes. So really in nonprofits, a lot of auditing, particularly with finances, and especially if there are grants that are awarded to nonprofits, particularly if they're government grants, there's going to be a lot of auditing and stuff involved. So that's where that transparency comes in, to make sure that these organizations are kind of spending the money wisely. Accountability. So nonprofits are responsible for using their resources efficiently and ethically, demonstrating the impact of their work and continuously improving their practices. Then also aligning HR practices with organizational mission and values. As an HR professional in the nonprofit sector, it's essential to ensure that your practices and strategies are aligned with your organization's mission and values. This alignment can be achieved through developing a clear understanding of the mission and values and communicating them to staff and volunteers, designing job descriptions, recruitment strategies, and performance management systems that reflect the organization's mission and values. So you want to think about like the core competencies and kind of like the identity of the organization, trying to figure out who are the people that best fit within that culture, right? So fostering a workplace culture that embodies the organization's value and encourage your staff to live them in their daily work. Implementing policies and practices that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in line with an organization's commitment to social justice. Having a clear mission statement and a strong set of values not only provides a foundation for decision-making within a nonprofit organization, but also serves as a guiding force for HR professionals. By aligning your HR practices with your organization's mission and values, you'll be able to attract and retain individuals who are passionate about the cause, create a positive work environment, and contribute to the overall success of your organization. just take a second to check the chat. But so the role of HR in nonprofit organizations. So as we delve deeper into the world of NPOs, it's essential to understand the crucial role that HR professionals play in supporting and advancing the mission of these organizations. In this segment, we'll discuss some of the key responsibilities and challenges of HR professionals in the nonprofit sector, as well as the impact they can have on their organization's success. You know, supporting the mission through strategic HR management. Well, one of the primary responsibilities of HR professionals in nonprofit sector is to ensure that the organization's human resources are effectively managed and aligned with its mission and goals. This involves developing and implementing strategic HR plans that take into account the organization's current and future needs, as well as the unique challenges and opportunities that nonprofits face. And some of the key components of strategic HR management in the nonprofit sector include workforce planning and talent management, assessing the organization's current and future staffing needs, and developing strategies to attract, retain, and develop the talent required to achieve its mission. And I guess some of us will think that, this is a little difficult on the nonprofit end because sometimes the salaries don't quite align with the for-profit sector, right? That is not always true. Some nonprofits pay phenomenally well. But generally speaking, when we're thinking about recruitment and retention, the people who are looking for those jobs are more kind of mission focused and don't always care so much about salary. Me personally, I like mission and I like a good salary, but some people just care about doing something that gives them or makes them feel like they have purpose. So those are the people that kind of lean in the direction of nonprofit work, right? Organizational development and change management, supporting the organization in adapting to changes in its external environment, such as shifts in funding. So that's kind of thing, like if there's no funding, there's no work, right? And regulations or societal needs, right? Because usually a nonprofit is based on some type of societal need. So that has to be consistent. And then ensuring that its internal structures, processes, and culture are aligned with its mission and its goals. Employee engagement and well-being, fostering a positive and inclusive work environment that supports the well-being and engagement of employees, as well as their commitment to the organization's mission. And I think this is really important because since we're amongst each other, a lot of nonprofit organizations tend to be white-led and working towards issues that affect people who look like us, right? So it's really important that as HR professionals, Black HR professionals, that we're cognizant of that and making sure that we're working towards creating an environment where people feel included and that they belong and that they get to support people in the community as well as the staff. So those strategies are going to be really important. When we talk about, I call it white knight syndrome, people call it other things, but those things we have to kind of take the lead and make sure that the impact or the results that are intended, that we can achieve them. And then there's attracting and retaining mission-driven talent. Another key responsibility of HR professionals in nonprofit is to ensure that their organization attracts and retains individuals who are passionate about its mission and committed to making a difference, kind of what I alluded to before. This involves developing and implementing recruitment strategies that not only target individuals with the right skills and experience, but also those who share the organization's values and are motivated by its mission. Some of the key elements of effective recruitment and retention in the nonprofit sector include crafting compelling job descriptions and person specifications that highlight the impact of the role and its alignment with the organization's mission. If you notice, sometimes when you read nonprofit job descriptions, they tend to be a little more creative, kind of appeal to a certain person. So, think about that. Leveraging networks and partnerships to reach diverse and mission-driven talent pools. There's a whole pool of people who look just like us, who care about the community just like us, and we need to find them, right? And get those people. I want us to help us, essentially, right? So we have to figure out places like Black in HR, where we can find the talent to do the work that supports our communities. Providing competitive and equitable compensation and benefits packages that take into account the unique financial constraints of the nonprofit sector. Amen, right? And I think the key word is compensation. So although maybe the salary might not be that attractive, but maybe it's the benefits that can attract people, right? So I think nonprofits can be a little more creative in their PTO, right? Their leave policies. You can think about the benefits offered. So wherever, nonprofits tend to have 403B retirement plans, and think about the company match, all these different things outside of maybe annual salary. I would say nonprofit HR professionals need to advocate for and champion to be able to attract that top talent, right? And I think also equally important, offering opportunities for professional development, the growth and advancement within the organization, as well as opportunities to contribute to the mission in meaningful ways. In any organizations that I've worked in from the nonprofit sector, I've either volunteered or make myself known in the programmatic areas and see how I could be helpful. And I think that helps me be a better HR professional, because it gives me a chance to understand their world and how my work affects them, and also how I can better support them. So I try to ingratiate myself in the programmatic areas as well. And then fostering a positive culture and work environment. So a third critical aspect is fostering a positive culture that supports employee engagement, well-being, and commitment to the mission. If you've worked in nonprofit HR or in the nonprofit sector at all, those people work very hard, especially when they care about a mission. They give their all, and it's really important to create space for well-being and being creative in how we take care of staff. And so, for example, we had our all-staff call today, and in honor of Earth Day, we are shipping all our staff like seeds to grow herbs, right, in their garden or their fire escape or whatever, just to do something different. And gardening tends to give people peace, and we need that. Then providing regular and constructive feedback on performance, recognizing and celebrating achievements and contributions. I think that's paramount, especially if salary is not like a way to kind of acknowledge somebody, to publicly do so. Being transparent and open about promotion procedures and policies, being open about stakeholders, we play a critical role in this nonprofit space. And I think there's so many avenues where we can insert ourselves and make sure that our individual teams and our programs are taken care of, and to be a voice. And I think also important was to make sure that HR has a seat in the executive team or the C-suite in the nonprofit area, to be able to be the advocate and the voice for the staff. I think that's really mission critical. So I think we have the unique opportunity to be catalysts for positive change, both within our organizations and in the broader community. And by embracing our role as strategic partners and mission-driven leaders, we can help shape the future of the organizations that we work in or that you will work in, empower our staff and volunteers, and ultimately contribute to the lasting impact that nonprofits seek to achieve. And as you think about your own organization and your role as an HR professional or soon to be HR professional, consider the following questions. Like, how can you ensure that your strategies and practices are aligned with your organization's mission and values? What steps can you take to attract and retain mission-driven talent that will contribute to the success of your organization? How can you foster a positive organizational culture and work environment that supports employee engagement, well-being, and commitment to the mission? So I think if you took the time to reflect on those questions and taking action to address them, you will be well on your way to becoming a super effective HR professional, a nonprofit HR professional, and ultimately a catalyst for change in your organization and the communities that you serve. So, unique challenges in nonprofit HR. There are quite a few. I think it's important to recognize that unique challenges exist. I think that's what makes HR and nonprofit interesting. I love to problem solve personally. But we'll explore some of these challenges and discuss ways in which HR can help navigate. So the ding, 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 number one challenge is limited resources and budget constraints, right? And I think if we had the budget, we could pay people or compensate people in the way that we would love to. That would make talent acquisition a lot easier, but sometimes it's just not the case, right? And nonprofits often operate with smaller budgets than for-profits, and it limits recruitment, it limits training, it limits compensation, but I think we can address some of these with initiatives that are more closely aligned with mission and goals, ensuring that available resources are used most effectively, leverage partnerships and collaborations with other organizations, educational institutions, and community groups to access shared resources and expertise. There are a lot of for-profit organizations that love to support nonprofits for whatever their overarching reason is, And they support with money, they support with volunteers, they do matching for nonprofits. I would advise to do research and leverage. I just saw today actually that the volunteer rate is now, I think it was like $30.80 or something like that. Take advantage of volunteers. And just look up resources. I personally look at operational grants to go for. 'Cause a lot of times there's fundraising for the programmatic areas, right? But they forget about the operational stuff, right? Explore alternative forms of compensation, as I mentioned before. Flexible work arrangements. If you all are still going to the office every day, maybe that's something to consider. Professional development opportunities, meaningful work experiences that can help to attract and retain talent despite financial constraints. The next challenge is balancing staff and volunteer management. There's the balancing of management for both paid staff and volunteers are a critical resource for many nonprofits, and effectively managing them can have a significant impact on success. And to address this, you can develop clear roles and responsibilities for both staff and volunteers, ensuring that everyone understands their contribution to the mission and goals. I find that sometimes managers in the space don't always clearly communicate goals. And so that's going to be important. Provide training and support for staff and volunteers to ensure they have the skills and resources needed to do their job well. Foster a culture of appreciation and recognition, celebrating the contributions of both staff and volunteers to the organization's success. We recently did a Years of Service Awards, and we gave out plaques and gift cards to staff at varying milestones. We had like a whole production, music playing and all that. The staff really appreciated it. Sometimes the best payment is thank you, right? Sometimes it's really that simple that we forget to say thank you. Ensuring equity and inclusivity in HR practices. NPOs tend to have a strong commitment to social justice and equity. And this commitment should be reflected in HR practice. HR policies should promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and it can be challenging, particularly for smaller organizations with limited resources. But I think one way to do that is updating policies, addressing potential biases and barriers that may impact underrepresented groups. Check out your performance management process, check out your promotion policies, and making sure that people have equitable chance for promotion. Pay parity, making sure that people with similar jobs are being paid similarly, right? Particularly for women, right? Develop recruitment strategies that target diverse talent pools and promote the organization's commitment to equity and inclusion. Everyone should have some type of commitment at this point, right? Make sure that's like on the website, tag it to job descriptions if possible, make it a living document that can be edited, that can be shared and acted upon regularly, right? Provide training on DEI, fostering a culture of respect and understanding. So those are some challenges. There's plenty more, but if we acknowledge the challenges and we can be creative in the way we address them, we can make some real strides. Talk to other colleagues, find out what they're doing, ask them what their challenges are. Everybody has different challenges, and they may have found an answer that works for them, and you might have an answer that works for somebody else, right? So that's going to be like the importance of networking. This is a great space to do so in the Black in HR. Are there any strategies or insights from our discussion that you think could be particularly helpful in addressing the challenges? And you can put those in the chat. But by sharing our experiences and learning from one another, we can gain valuable insights into how to navigate some of these unique challenges in nonprofit HR. Because some of my HR friends, and they're going to do unlimited budgets and can have 1,000 people with LinkedIn Learning access and all that. But I got to be a little more creative and have people come in and speak and do me favors and such stuff like that. So we always find a way. Yeah. Okay. So compliance, ethics, and risk management. I think one of our key responsibilities is to ensure that our organizations operate in compliance with relevant laws and regulations. I think that's really, really important for nonprofit. So adhering to the highest ethical standards and effectively managing risk. So we have legal compliance and regulatory requirements. So there's a bunch of laws that govern nonprofits. We have employment law, labor law, taxation, fundraising laws. And although that's probably part development, part finance team, HR, I promise, is always included, because particularly audits, we have to pull personnel files, and so keep those personnel files clean and up to date. Audit yourself, make sure that I-9s are there, or 403B information is present. All those things get pulled, right? And just stay informed about legal requirements. SHRM is a great way to do that. They have regular emails about different legal stuff that's happening. But to definitely stay abreast of what's happening. Regularly review your own HR policies and procedures. If your employment handbook hasn't been seen since 2010 or whatever, get that updated. A lot has changed since then. A lot has changed within the last 2 years. Get that updated. Provide training on any updates. Make your general counsel or your legal team your best friend. They'll understand the legal aspects in a more cohesive way. So you want to just have them at the ready in case there's some collaboration or understanding that needs to happen, right? And of course, generally speaking, nonprofits are seen to have a higher ethical standard than, let's say, the for-profit world. So things about fairness and transparency and integrity. Nonprofit organizations are supposed to be like the model of this, right? So as HR professionals, I think we're under a little more pressure to have things clean and crisp and above board, in my opinion, versus the for-profit sector, right? I'll have a code of ethics or conduct, clear and transparent processes for addressing ethical concerns, have your grievance procedures or whistleblower policies. Whistleblowers policies are important. So if you don't have that, make sure you have one. Think about your own actions and decisions, considering potential ethical implications, and make sure that whatever you're doing is in the best interest of the organization and its mission. And then you want to mitigate risk. You want to think about employee safety, financial stability, reputational damage by effectively managing these risks. You can protect the organization and its long-term success. So you want to conduct regular risk assessment to identify like hazards or vulnerabilities in HR practice. You think about data security, legal compliance, employee safety, making sure that all those things are up to date to today's standards. Or if you see cracks in the wall, making sure that facilities address those things. Like, we kind of have to be like the police of the organization, unfortunately, but that's how we keep people safe. You want to develop and implement risk management plans to outline strategies for addressing identified risk, as well as monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of these strategies. You want to ensure that staff receive the appropriate training to address potential risk. And then by focusing on some of these things, we can ensure that our organizations operate responsibly, transparently, and effectively. This in turn contributes to the overall success of our organizations and their ability to kind of meet the goal. So again, some reflection, what steps can you take to ensure that your org is in compliance? What are the ethical standards that are in place? What are the HR practices that you have in place? And what can you do to effectively manage and mitigate risk to protect your organization, the mission, and I think most importantly, yourself? I'm sure we all have to for a CYA, make sure that all your ducks in a row. So if somebody asks you a question, it's there, boom. Okay. Okay. So, as we've explored some various aspects of nonprofit HR, it is essential to recognize the importance of leveraging resources specifically tailored to the unique needs and challenges of the nonprofit sector. So we'll discuss some resources that you as HR professionals or budding HR professionals in your work that will help you develop and implement effective strategies, navigate challenges, and ultimately contribute to the success of your organization and you. So the first thing I recommend is to join professional associations and networks, particularly Black in HR, SHRM. There's the Nonprofit HR Network, and that's a professional association dedicated to supporting HR professionals in the nonprofit sector, offering resources such as webinars, conferences, and research. There's SHRM, of course. It's a global HR organization that offers resources and support for HR in all sectors. They also have a dedicated nonprofit community and resources dedicated to nonprofit HR. Let's see, is there anything else I can think of? No. All right, well, and again, by participating in professional organizations and networks, you can access valuable resources, share best practices, like I mentioned before, and collaborate with peers to address common challenges and opportunities. And of course, again, Black in HR First Network and training opportunities like the one you're in now. There's a wealth of information online, publications. I'm personally like a big reader about HR. I read at least an HR article a day because I feel like it's incumbent upon me to keep up to date to what's happening, to be cutting edge. And so I really take my craft as an HR professional very seriously. Right? and there's some publications. There's the Nonprofit Quarterly. That is an independent publication that covers a wide range of topics related to nonprofit management. Has HR, has leadership, has organization development. There's the Bridgespan Group. That is a consultancy, and they offer resources and research on nonprofit management. They have articles, they have case studies, and other tools related to HR and talent management. Um, there's the National Council of Nonprofits. That's the collection of nonprofits, and they offer a collection of resources. Again, please stay informed. That's how you grow. That's how you advance in your career. That's how you stay relevant. That's how, when somebody asks you a question, you have the information because you're on top of your game. Take advantage of any training and development opportunities. Um, Whatever is offered, find the time to take it. In my inbox, I get a lot of like hour sessions or lunch sessions. I try to attend as many as possible. Round table discussions. I enjoy those, hearing different perspectives from different organizations. So any opportunity you have to learn and advance yourself in knowledge, that'll inform your strategy. That'll inform your day to day. It'll inform how you lead, and it'll upskill you, right? So yeah, and I also believe in sharing. So as I learn, I share, right? I don't keep things to myself. I want to spread the news, and not be in the habit of learning something and just holding it. You know, it's paramount that we educate each other in that way. And questions. So let me take a look. Okay. And what else? Oh, Stephanie Calderon asked, what are some good reward and recognition platforms for nonprofit organizations? I would say that they don't necessarily differ. It's a matter of budget, to be honest. Um, I'm trying to think of um, recognition platforms off the top of my head. I don't know, a lot of your HRIS systems would have some type of recognition platform. I know that this is not a plug at all, but I know that Bamboo HR has, I believe Zenefits has, they're kind of like synced partner, where you can take a look at what your systems have in general. I've heard of Bonusly, I've heard of Fond and Nectar. You kind of really have to do like research and see, but Teams, if you use Microsoft Teams, um, there's a feature in Teams that allows you to give shout outs to people, and I do that regularly. Um, so that's a free way to do so if you have Teams. Um, and then reward platforms, I do not know any off the top of my head, but I'm sure people in the chat do. So feel free to share that information. Mhm. Okay. So Denise asked, for nonprofits 100 in size, health insurance rates are high. Yes, they are. How have you worked with brokers to get better rates for employees? That is an excellent question. Um, it's a matter of creativity. And I think one way to do it, sometimes organizations over-insure people, right? So it's kind of like doing research and kind of seeing what benefits they're using versus what they're not using. Anything about pharmacy benefits, sometimes with the accruals, sometimes the accrual goes direct to pharmacy as the rebate. And there's a way, depending on who you are brokering with, where that accrual can go back to the organization, right? It's, you know, you might have to interview some brokers and kind of seeing who has the best rate or negotiation skills. And then what else? What have I done? Sometimes you have to go directly to the insurance program and negotiate. In my last role, I was able to negotiate a 40% increase down to 10. And that takes a lot of patience to kind of haggle in that way. But I think the best way to do it is to really kind of understand your staff and like their age, their ailments, what they're using for. And I say age because, you know, if you have a younger population, younger people tend to think that they're invincible and they don't really go to the doctor, they don't use their yearly checkup or whatever. So you can balance it that way. What I do in my organization, you know, we kind of have tiers. So people who make under 50,000 kind of have, we all have the same plan, but they pay less. So it's really an exercise in creativity, and depending on when your open enrollment is, kind of have to start that process like now. Let's see. What are some of my, oh, Kimberly Sinclair asked, what are some of your HR book recommendations? I read articles mostly, but I love Harvard Business Review. I read that a lot. I read, what was it called? The Nonprofit Times. There's the Human Workplace, I think it's called. I've read that. I'm more of like a leadership or self-help book kind of person, not necessarily an HR book kind of person, but I read a lot of articles in HR because that's what kind of quick hitting and works for me. I hope that was helpful. Let me try to see. Okay. Kimberly also asked, with the current and future economic downturn, how do you foresee the nonprofit sector navigating those challenges? I see funding being more competitive. I really thought that the nonprofit sector would take a huge hit during the pandemic, and it did to an extent, right? but I will say I feel safer working in a nonprofit than doing the tech sector. Not to be funny, but I think it's really dependent on who the funding source is for your organization, right? If you're mostly funded by government programs, then you might be safer. If it's mostly like major gifts, major gifts tends to decrease during times of economic downturn. If it's foundations, I think you're pretty safe. If it's corporate, I think corporate dollars are kind of decreasing. If there's a kind of a mixture of fundraising efforts, I think it's safe. If you're working for like the American Heart Association, I think you're fine. If you're working for a 5-person nonprofit, it really depends on the funding structure. But I also think that while there's economic downturn, there's, more need for services, right? More people need help. So, it's really harder to kind of justify laying off or shutting down a nonprofit when there's more people who need help, right? So I think just like the for-profit sector, I think it depends on what the nature of the business is, who it is serving, and who is supporting it. I think I do. Oh, Ebony asked, what type of role do you see AI playing in HR management and driving people's strategies? That is a really great question. I think AI will help HR professionals in for-profit and not-for-profit be more efficient and more effective. And I think since AI is artificial intelligence, it won't replace us, right? Like, I don't think AI has the nuance of human behavior, and a situation might be the same, but how you implement it might be different based on the situation, right? So I don't think AI is going to have that level of nuance to be able to replicate human behavior, right? But I think it'll help us with writing memos and employee handbooks and things like of that nature. But so it'll help with those things. But in terms of like the people aspect, the culture aspect, I don't think AI can touch human processes. So I think we're safe in that front. So I think it's a both and. So it's helpful, but we're also safe. Okay, so it is now 7 o'clock, and I really had a wonderful time doing this. I learned that I'm the first male instructor, so it's been my pleasure, my privilege to be here with you all. Again, I want to plug the Black in HR. Please download your guide, get your recertification credit, and your reference sheet. There's coaching. So if you want coaching to advance your career or some resume help, feel free to reach out to the team in the Black in HR. For more classes like this, become a elite member if you want to take these classes for free. Have your jobs paid for it. And again, it was my pleasure, and see you all next time. And you'll see some similar classes like this coming from me in the near future. Take care.